You are listening to CPA Review and More. You are listening to CPA Review and More. You are listening to CPA Review and More. You are listening to CPA Review and More.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you're joining from. And thank you for listening to this episode of CPA Review and More with your host, Phil Yaeger. I'm your producer and director here at the Yaeger Studios, Rob Medford, and together we are bringing you the #1 podcast for CPAs and CPA candidates. If you're new to the show, I'd like to be the first to thank you for checking us out. We're excited to have you as part of our listenership. If you're here because you've already heard our show and you're a continued listener, we thank you for the ongoing support. It's always greatly appreciated. If you're in the market for a CPA review course or simply want to know more about what Yaeger CPA Review has to offer, check out our website at yaegercpareview.com or call our office and we'll answer any questions you might have. The link and telephone number will be in the description of this episode. Here at Team Yaeger, we're excited to tell you about our new Yaeger CPA Review subscription format. It's the same great Yaeger CPA Review course that you know and love on an all-new, month-to-month, no long-term commitment subscription format. But without any further delay, I'm going to pass the microphone on over to your host, Phil Yaeger.
Well, thank you, Rob, and welcome to another one of our podcasts for CPA Review and More. And I hope everyone out there is having a good day. And we are actually talking to someone again from Hawaii. We seem to be getting Hawaiian accountants. We have Adrian Hong on. Am I pronouncing that right, Adrian?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And Adrian is president of Island Plastic Bags. All right, we'll talk about that later. And let's talk about, first of all, Adrian, I'm sorry, did I ask you where you went to school and where you graduated from?
So I went to college at University of Washington in Seattle. So I really enjoyed the accounting program there. It's a fantastic program. I got my undergraduate in accounting there, and I got my master's in accounting and audit and assurance. I highly recommend that school. It's fantastic.
This is a question I've been asking people. Do you think the professors had practical as well as academic, or are they mostly academics?
They were actually mostly practical. I know my audit teacher, he was a managing partner for Deloitte in their Seattle office and stuff like that. So there were a few researchers, but it was mostly people with practical experience. So I really liked that because the stories they came with, how they approached, the learning and the stories we got and how they applied the theoretical stuff that we were learning, was really helpful.
Did these practical people have doctorates, or they just had the CPAs and masters maybe? Do you know what is it doctor this, doctor that?
It wasn't really doctor. It was mostly like, they had the CPA license. They had been in practice for quite a while. They're either, were a partner or formerly a partner at somewhere or something like that. So it was a lot of practical experience. There were a few doctors, but not too many. Now,
was that the philosophy of the university to give you more practical professors, instructors, versus just the academic? I bet they didn't say anything, but what was your impression? To give more of a practical instruction?
I think it was more practical. They didn't tell us how they chose professors, but it definitely leaned heavily onto the making sure that the professors had practical experience.
Yeah, that's good because when you're in college, it's academic. I mean, you're learning academics, but It's also good to tie in someone who's actually seen this in the real world and how it applies to the real. Because I think if you don't have that, people are going to think that, accounting is just an academic, it's journal entries, that type of thing. So in a way, that's good. I don't know how many universities are actually doing that type of thing where they have more practical people teaching versus totally academics. I'm glad to see University of Washington is like that. Now, your first job out of the University of Washington, you were where? Where'd you go?
So I had already had a full-time offer from Ernst & Porter. They were an audit and tax firm, and I was going to do audits of private company financial statements for them. But right before I was about to graduate, the Financial Accounting Standards Board reached out to me. I had submitted my application for another job, a year rotation with them, I didn't get that. I had done that to the University of Washington. The University of Washington came to us, the accounting head, and said, like, does anybody want to do this? I applied. I got all my professors to sign off and send recommendations and stuff like that. So I didn't get that job. But a couple of months before I was about to graduate, they reached out to me and said, hey, we have this 6-month rotation that we're kind of trying to staff. Would you be interested? And I talked to the Bernstein Porter, and they're like, yeah, definitely go for this. It'd be great for our firm to have you have this kind of experience with the FASB. So I talked to the FASB, and they were like, we need help updating this XBRL taxonomy. And I learned later that it's a new way of financial reporting. We've been doing financial reporting the same for many, many years. We create paper financial statements and we send them out. And the latest, technological improvement is we turn them into PDFs or websites, HTML pages that people can go visit. But that's the extent of the technological advances. So to get data that you want to, if you want information on airline revenues or information on profitability and stuff like that, you have to go and look at each one of these financial statements, which is very difficult. You have data aggregators that's what you pay them for. They aggregate all this data and then they present it to you across all these companies. What if we could get computers to do that for us? So the XBRL taxonomy is basically like electronically tagging all the information. So that $10 billion is for revenue for whatever company for Q1 2019. So the computer knows that, and the computer can do the calculations for you, pull the information for you. So by electronically tagging it, the computer knows what it is, and then it can do all the calculations, pull all the information for you. You just tell it what you want it to bring, and it'll bring it for you.
So this, when you got out of school, this Bernstein Porter and Company, you never really worked there full time. You were what, an audit intern?
So the first time I worked for them was during my master's program, was a winter internship. It was auditing. And then I did eventually work for them full time after I did my 6-month rotation with the FASB. But about a year and change after working full time in audit, I got a full time offer from the FASB, and it was just kind of an opportunity I couldn't refuse. I couldn't let go.
At Bernstein Porter, it says here you're on the assurance. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I was.
Sorry. What is the assurance staff? Tell everyone what that means. You didn't do auditing.
So
you were on the insurance staff. What was that?
So assurance, we did compilations, reviews, and audits. Compilations, you're just basically preparing the financial statements. You're compiling them. Reviews are a way of providing us some level of assurance that the financial statements, are reasonable, but it's nowhere near the level of assurance that you get with a full audit. And then full audit, you're reviewing the different accounts in the financial statements. You're performing audit procedures. You're going into a much deeper dive rather than just analytics and questionnaires in a review. So we did the whole gamut from compilations up to audits of private company financial statements. I never did any SEC registrars, anybody that's registered with the SEC. But we did private company financial statement audits.
So it's really, is that part of the auditing function at that firm, but they just call it assurance staff? Okay. All right. It seems like it's a lot of detail work, isn't it? I mean, did you like that detail work? I
loved that job because I got to go out to clients who, this was their baby. They built this business from the ground up, and they were so excited to kind of show you how, their cement testing firm worked, or, how they made network cables and stuff like that. So I got to see a bunch of different businesses, got to see a bunch of different business owners, how they operated, what worked in a company, what didn't work in a company. So I loved doing the tours, figuring out why companies were successful, figuring out why companies were struggling, and having access, to all this information and this experience and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed auditing. I really enjoyed learning about different companies and what they were doing and things that I would never have imagined, companies existing and doing things for that, they were. So it was just a really good educational experience.
Do you think being on an auditing staff of a CPA firm, you have to like to do a lot of detail work? Is that a true statement? Or what happens if you don't like detail work?
I think attention to detail is important, and you have to do a fair amount of detail work because you're taking in time, you're comparing evidence to what's been reported, whether you're looking at receipts or you're looking at physical plant assets, or you're looking at cash balances and confirmations. It is detail oriented, but you also get to interact with, on the audit side, a lot of different people like CFOs, CEOs, controllers, and you get to learn from them how their business works. So that's another part of it as well. I mean, when I go out and talk to high school and college students on behalf of the Hawaii Society of CPAs, I'm telling them it's not just, you don't just sit at your desk. You do interact with a lot of people, and it requires a lot of communication skills, and you do a fair amount of interacting with the client, with banks, with other stakeholders and stuff like that. So it is an interactive experience, but yes, you have to have an attention to detail.
So a big advantage of being on an audit staff is really that you're getting to see different companies and different types of industries and how they operate, correct? You see their internal control systems, all that good stuff. All right. Now,
yeah, I heartily agree.
Now you go, I'll come back to FASB in a second, but you go out to the universities in Hawaii, University of Hawaii, is that right?
Yeah. What was that?
What do you tell the students? What are you telling the students?
I tell them that it's a great career. I always say that, accounting gave me a lot. Being a CPA, I'm not in public practice anymore, gave me a lot. I got to work in Seattle. I got to work in Connecticut. I got to work back home in Hawaii. I got to teach accounting. I got to work for the Financial Accounting Standards Board. I got a good career, got good pay, got a good career trajectory. So I'm very grateful. And that's why I go out to these high schools and these colleges and say that, this career can do a lot for you. There's a lot of opportunities. You can work in a bunch of different industries. Every industry needs some kind of accountant, whether it's a CPA or just somebody to work in, the controller position. So I say there's fantastic opportunities out there. And, if you put in the effort, you pass the CPA exam, you pass your accounting classes and stuff like that, you can really make a good career out of this. You can get a lot of opportunity.
You go out to high school, at that age, do they have any interest in where they might be in a couple of years? Do they relate to what you're saying? The high schools? It's
a different type of relating. So they may not have decided where they want to go yet or what they want to do yet, but you can pique their interest. Like accounting is not something people think of off the bat. They think like doctor, lawyer, some kind of other professional, police officer, something like that. So you give them an opportunity to look at a profession that they never thought of before, and what they could do with that. I see a lot of high school students, they want to open up their own businesses someday. They want to be entrepreneurs. So I usually grab onto that. I'm like, if you want to be an entrepreneur, a business owner like myself, having an accounting background is really fabulous because you can understand what the health of the company is, how fast you're burning through cash, how much funding you need, what your sales reports are telling you. You can break down, profitability and financial position by, geographic area if you need to. You understand what the numbers are telling you, and it's a great foundation for an entrepreneur. So, I see a lot of high school students like, one day I want to own my own business. Well, if you want to own your own business, a good place to start is a degree in accounting because it helps you understand where your company is, what the health of your company is, where you can go, creating a business plan, what products are profitable, what products aren't. So that's what I kind of latch on to when I talk to the high school.
All right. So when you go to University of Hawaii, who are you talking to? Existing accounting majors or people who haven't decided what they want to do?
It's existing accounting majors. So, we talk to them about the CPA exam, what they can expect. We talk to them about resume workshops, interview workshops. We do that with them. We talk about the career and profession. So I'll set up a round table where we have a couple partners from different firms. We have a couple managers, maybe some staff and stuff like that. So they can talk to different levels of different parts of an accounting firm or industry. I'll go as well and, represent business and industry, CPAs. And so we can kind of get them to understand what the profession's like.
They're accounting majors already, right? Aren't you?
Yeah.
Am I correct? So you're trying to basically make the profession more exciting so they don't change to another major, right? And also, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you got a person, I don't know when they declare majors at University of Hawaii, whether it's when do they declare it, sophomore or junior year?
I'm not sure at University of Hawaii, but it would be sophomore or junior year because that's what they did at UW. I think every university is around that same area because you got to, by that time, kind of know what you're doing because you're going into the higher level classes.
Well, are you going in there to that level of students at the university who are majoring in accounting and maybe saying, hey, I have to think of a way to get these people to stay in so we don't lose them to another major, all right? Because just because they majored, it doesn't mean they can't change to finance or something else, all right? Do you do that at all? Do you try to basically point out that accounting is the best major and maybe before you switch to another one, you should consider accounting for these reasons? Do you deal with that, all right? Or why are you going in and talking to people who are already majors, who are majors in accounting, and you're talking more about the accounting profession, all right? See, I would think that what we need today are really people to go in like yourself. You're doing a great job, by the way, with that. But do you go into business classes, non-accounting majors, and try to show them why they should possibly become accountants, CPAs, versus other areas? I mean, do you do any of that?
So mostly at the college level, we're focused on the Hawaii Society of CPAs and, you know, the organization I'm going to talk to these students. We're usually talking to accounting students that have already declared their major, and we're just trying to prepare them for success. You know, this is how, you know, this is what it's like going to be in the profession. This is what you need to do with your resume. This is what you need to do with your interview skills. This is what you need to do to pass the CPA exam. So we're trying to prepare them for success. So when they make that transition from student to professional, it's as smooth as possible. We don't usually focus on, and we haven't really, going to just regular business classes and convincing them to be accounting students.
Why not? Do you think that would be a bad idea, a good idea? What's your feeling?
I mean, I think that it would be a good idea, but we kind of have our hands full already, you know, doing the outreach that we're already doing. But it wouldn't be a bad idea to go to some business classes. We'd have to figure out a connection with a good teacher that we feel comfortable with, that we can go out to their whatever their business class is and, you know, talk for a little bit about it, a profession in accounting. But we kind of focus at the college level of prepping those accounting students for the profession rather than trying to convert regular business school students to the accounting profession.
How are the enrollments doing at University of Hawaii in majors in accounting? Are they going up, staying the same, going down? Do you have any?
I know.
Go ahead.
I have, not at the main campus, I'm not sure, but I know at one of their satellite campuses, UH Oahu, which I taught at for a while, the accounting program there is growing. And, you know, accounting students represent a big portion of the business school. So I think overall accounting is doing very well in terms of, you know, the amount of students in Hawaii, in terms of growth. I know the firms constantly need right now new professionals. So they're always looking for students that are just about ready to go into the profession.
You don't know how many of them are taking the CPA exam at school, do you?
I don't know that information off the top of my head.
Okay. Number of CPAs, number of people taking CPA exam has dropped, and that's a big problem we're having in the profession.
I'm aware of that. And so this is the Hawaii Society of CPAs. That's why we're doing these outreaches at high school level, at college level, you know, letting them know the benefits of being licensed.
Is these things, you go out because it's the University of Hawaii Society? It's not the AICPA then, do they?
So the AICPA works with the different state societies. I'm, you know, on programs to, you know, get students to join both organizations. They provide funds to do some of these outreach programs. So yeah, the AICPA through the state societies is doing this type of stuff, trying to encourage people to get into the pipeline all the way from high school students up to college students. I know when we go out and do presentations at the high school level, it was a presentation that was built by the AICPA. They basically built a website. I think it's This Way to the CPA, Way to CPA. Yes. That they built a website to encourage people to consider the accounting profession, and we use that and materials from that in presentations.
That's great. That's a real public service as far as because we need more people taking the CPA exam. And, you know, when you're younger, it's hard to understand what the benefit could be in the future of having the CPA designation. So I appreciate you doing it. I really do. Now, let's go back to, I've never known anybody who actually had a job with the financial accounting standards. But
I did that 6-month rotation for the FASB. I went to go back to work for Bernstein Porter, and then the FASB decided they were going to create their own team to handle this type of, duty, updating the XBRL taxonomy, the electronic tags that are used to tag financial information. They were going to create their own team to update it every year. So when they decided to create that team, they reached out to me because they liked my work before. And I said yes. And so that's kind of how I went to go work for them full time. The FASB is separate. It's a non-for-profit that's funded mainly by the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission. Yeah.
All right. So who's responsible? Who's primarily responsible for the generally accepted accounting process? The FASB or the SEC?
Yeah, it's the FASB.
The FASB. Okay.
I had frequent contact with the SEC because the SEC was requiring all public companies to file with the XBRL tags, the electronic tags to their financial information. So we had a deliverable on my project. December 15th every year, we had to deliver a new updated list of electronic tags to the SEC every December 15th for them to release sometime early that next year. So we had a lot of interactions with the SEC.
And you found the area, obviously, the how do you pronounce it? The XBRL, the Project Research Associate. Yep. Did you really want that specific job when you went to FASB, or would you take another position?
So I initially applied when I was in college for a general position. It was a 1-year rotation with them. You'd work on different projects, and then you would roll off after that a year and go work somewhere else. So when I got that 6-month rotation, it was in XBRL, and I learned a lot about it. So that when they created their own team, they were willing to hire me for that position. So I never knew about it before I worked for the FASB, but it was a fascinating kind of thing because I was doing a lot of accounting research, because every time you got a new pronouncement or a new best practice kind of came up, you would have to change the electronic tags that would be used on those SEC filings to tag the financial information. So I did a lot of accounting research, like, okay, so what happens if we change leases? Well, what happens if we change revenues? What's the, interaction between the, leases pronouncement and the revenues pronouncement? How is that going to change our financial reporting? So it was really interesting to see how new pronouncements changed best practices, changed what was reported on the financial statements. So that was really interesting. I did a lot of accounting research to kind of figure that out. And then, as the data kept piling up, the FASB board would ask our team pull this information on, deferred taxes related to income held overseas that hasn't been repatriated yet. Things like that, information they want to know for, creating pronouncements and stuff like that. So it was really, really interesting to see what, the accounting research, how new pronouncements are affecting things. And then as we built data, as people kept filing with this information, what information we could provide to the board and other people.
You needed to get a job at the FASB doing what you were doing. Obviously, you had to be a CPA, correct?
Actually, I don't. Yeah, I know you had to have basically an accounting degree, but you didn't really have to have an active CPA license to be at the FASB because you're not signing off on audit opinions or tax returns.
But you have to pass the CPA exam.
I think it helped that I had passed the CPA exam, but I don't think it was a requirement when they hired me.
Okay, that's interesting. Do you know what other positions, for the people listening, what other positions would the FASB have for people who want to work for the FASB?
That's a really good question. The post-technical graduate program, like I said, it's a year program. You come right out of college, so you'll be applying in college. You get to work for them for a year. You get to work on different, new pronouncements that are, being made, or, work on, like something like the XBRL project or something else. And then, but they usually hire separately. But you get to work on different projects within the FASB, and then you roll off after a year. And that experience is pretty invaluable. A lot of those people that do that program go and work for the national offices of the Big Four in the research departments, because you're doing a lot of pronouncements research. You're doing a lot of research on past pronouncements and stuff like that. So you're very versed in doing the accounting research. So a lot of the national offices of the Big Four firms really like those after they've done that year to go and grab them up. Then there's the managers of the different projects. Those people are usually like senior managers from the Big Four or senior managers from other firms and stuff like that, or academics that come in and work for a few years, and then they go off and be partner and stuff like that at their own firm or another firm. And then there are project managers that do stay on for a very long time. They're more permanent. But those are some of the kind of the positions. The FASB goes through a lot of people in terms of, they come in for a few years, understand the process, be part of the pronouncements process, and then leave to go be partners or go work for the national firm, the national offices for the firms. But the FASB likes it like that because they want people to understand the process that they go through. They want people to have the skills that they built inside of them to go off into the world and stuff like that. So it's kind of designed for a lot of people to get that experience and then go on and do something else. But there are a core group of people at the FASB that stay on and, make sure that the place continues. And
FASB is located in Connecticut, is that correct?
Yes. It's located in Norwalk, Connecticut.
Now, you are presently the president of Island Plastic Bags in Hawaii. So you went back to Hawaii, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, does that mean what happened? You got tired of working for the FASB? You got tired of living in Connecticut? What made you go back to Hawaii?
So I was looking for a little bit more work-life balance. The project that I was on, I was doing some long hours on 75, 80-hour weeks, when it was leading up to that December 15th deadline. I was putting in a lot of hours, and I did it for a couple of years, and I realized I was young enough that I could do it for a few more years, but it wasn't, that kind of work pace wasn't long-term for me. So I started talking to the family about coming home and eventually taking over the family business. We manufacture trash liners, other types of plastic bags. And my dad was getting to that age where he had to think about what he was going to do with the business. How is he going to handle succession? Was he going to hire a general manager and have them run it? As he scaled back, was he going to sell the business? So it was a really opportune time in terms of he was looking at what he was going to do with the business. I was looking at making a career change. And it was really nice to come back home to Hawaii, as you can imagine. The sun and the beaches and all of that. And just being close to family was great.
And your company, Island Plastic Bags, where do they manufacture the plastic?
So we manufacture locally about 60% of what we sell. There's certain items that we can't manufacture because we don't have the equipment for. And we don't have enough business to make it worthwhile to, manufacture here locally. So we buy it from other manufacturers, but we manufacture about 60% of what we sell.
And how many people do you employ in your business? We
have 13 total here.
13. So you'd be considered a small business, but is it more of a family business? Is that what it is?
It's definitely a family business. It's not just me and my father. My office manager, Claire, has known my father for over 30 years. She's known me since I was born almost. I've never asked if she changed my diapers, but it may be possible. So it's like
was
that
it
kind
plastic
of environment.
Diapers? Was it plastic diapers?
Just kidding. Probably. Yeah. But it's a family here because these people have known me since I grew up, since I was a little child, a baby even. So it's really a family atmosphere. It was quite a culture shock going from the FASB, which was so professional, to here where everybody treats everybody like family. But it was a good change. It just took me a while to get accustomed to the culture. But it's like I said, we've known each other for so long. It isn't just Claire Samira, my office manager. It's Auntie Claire, so. Was
your ultimate goal to eventually be in the family business when you started working in accounting? Was that what you were thinking about?
No, I didn't think that. My father didn't think that. My father definitely didn't want me starting with the business. He wanted me to find my own worth, to find, what I wanted to do with my life and stuff like that. He didn't want me to just come in and be the president's son, the owner's son. And I didn't want that either. I wanted to get off the island. I wanted to get, all the new experiences I could. So that's why I went to the University of Washington instead of University of Hawaii. I wanted to, experience the world, be off the island. The reason why I came back was to become closer to family, and, the working in the family business allowed me to do that, allowed me the opportunity to come back home. I definitely love the job, but it was the family that brought me back.
So of all the jobs you've had before you went back to the family business or came into the family business, which job in accounting did you like the most and find most challenging?
So the job I liked the most was probably auditing, just because I got to see so many different businesses. It was really interesting. And that really helped me when I came back to the family business, because I was like, okay, these are the things I absolutely don't want to do with this business. I don't want to see in this business in terms of internal controls, in terms of, how we do business. These are things I don't want to see, because I've seen businesses that struggle when they do this. And so that was really helpful for my current position. And like I said, it was fascinating to go to see these businesses. Challenging. The FASB job was probably the most challenging, because, it was just a constant state of like learning about doing new accounting research on things you've never seen before. And it had, like I said, working for the FASB you had fantastic resources. You had an accounting library at the top. You had access to all of the accounting research tools of like the Big Four, CCH, like any accounting research database that you could have ever wanted and ever had access to, and any kind of accounting software you ever needed, you have access to. So the resources were incredible. And, you could go and talk to somebody that wrote, the pensions pronouncement, instead of having to go and read about it, which was fantastic. But that was probably the most challenging, because it's just, you constantly had to learn new aspects of accounting that you had never thought of before, never even considered before. So that was probably the most challenging.
Yeah, because you made a real turn. You went from college to working as an intern in public accounting. You went to the FASB, right? And you worked in research, and you enjoyed that. But you had enough public accounting experience, because you did work in public accounting for more than a year. And that gave you the advantage of the audit or assurance staff, is that you got to see different industries, which actually have helped you as far as coming back into the family business. You learned a lot about internal controls, right?
Absolutely.
What did you learn from all your positions? The FASB, working in public accounting, that has actually helped you maintain the successful business your family's had, all right? Can you say that all of those jobs did help you?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I picked up the company's financial statements, when I came back to the family business, I could understand how healthy it was. It was healthy. We were in a good position. We had good profitability. And then knowing that, it's like, how do we improve that? Going and seeing the internal controls in this in this company, and then seeing the technology that was in, the FASB, or technology that was when I was in public accounting. I'm like, my dad's still doing bank reconciliations on green bar paper. Yeah, that works, but there's more efficient way to do that. So I improved the technology that was in the company. I moved us to a new accounting information system. I ran it parallel with the old one just to make sure that it would work. And then we moved to the new one in 2013. So I made improvements based on what I learned working elsewhere, and I brought that back. And then in terms of internal controls, I made sure that there was plenty of documentation, because as an auditor, I hated when my clients didn't have documentation. So my accountants, my tax CPAs love me, just because I make sure that I document everything and I get it to them in a timely manner. So I'm considerate of the people we use on the outside. I consider my CPA, my general lawyer, my labor law lawyer, my banker, my team, because I understand what it's like being on the other side. You're part of my team. I'll make sure that you understand everything that we're doing, get you all the information that you need, because we're all getting to the same goal here. We want this business to be successful, and I want you to be able to give me the best advice possible on these different transactions and different things that we do. So, I make sure these people understand what we are, so that we can move forward together. And I think of them as my team, Team Island Plastic Bags. And I make sure that they have everything that they need to do that.
Adrian, thank you very much. We appreciate you being on our podcast. I think you gave a lot of good information to people about being an auditor, working for the FASB. And also, I really respect you that you go around to schools and talk about the profession. And we need more of that, so that people might say, hey, accountants are more than just doing debits and credits, and they're more than just bookkeeping. There's more to it. It is the language of business. Would you agree? Accounting is a language of business. And if you know that language, you'll succeed in anything you do in business if you have some type of accounting background. In fact, being an accounting major will even help you even more when you go into another business like you have done, or, take the CPA. I've said this over and over again. Take the CPA. You never know where it's going to take you. I mean, how long have you been out of school now? I'm sorry. How long have you been?
I think it's 11, 12 years, somewhere around there.
So it's interesting. You took a real turn from 11, 12 years ago to be back in the family business back in Hawaii. That's great. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I'm jealous of you.
Yeah,
Adrian,
I agree.
Thank you very much. Take care, everyone.
Once again, I'd like to thank you for being the best part of CPA Review and More with your host, Phil Yaeger. If you have any questions or topics you'd like to hear on the show, or if you'd like to be a guest on the show to share your story, we want to hear from you. Send me an email to the studio at podcast@yaegercpareview.com. If you're enjoying the content that we're providing, we'd greatly appreciate it if you'd submit a review to the Apple iTunes podcast app to let us know how we're doing. If you're in the market for a CPA review course, or simply want to find out more about the CPA exam and what Yaeger has to offer, check out YaegerCPAReview.com or call our office and we'll answer any questions you may have. The link and the phone number will be in the description of this podcast. Here at Team Yaeger, we are excited to tell you about our new Yaeger CPA Review subscription format. It's the same great Yaeger CPA Review course that you know and love on an all-new month-to-month, no-commitment subscription format. Check it out today. Once again, my name's Rob Medford. I'm your executive producer and director here at the Yaeger Studios. And until next time, take care and be audit you can be.